Good morning, good morning, good morning. I was posting on the socials. We have a new typewriter out. Woo! This is a 1949 Royal QDL, which I need to still put the ribbon in. I need to put the ribbon before the stream starts this week. We also have coffee. Good coffee. Caffeine in the morning. Gets you started. And we have a gigantic pile of stuff. What is this stuff? We'll get to that in a little while. First, I want to figure out why the music is not lowering the way it should. I have started experimenting with using leveling, using the desktop leveler. I probably need a better solution for audio here. Go ahead. For some reason, I'm having trouble getting the audio balancing right. Streamlabs does not have enough capabilities to truly handle the audio needs of my stream. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to. Yeah, it's complicated because if I use the desktop one, anyway, I'm rambling. But if welcome to everybody that's tuning in. We're going to start our morning off as we always do with a poem from a special featured guest poet. Today's featured guest poet is none other than the Poetry Fox himself, who is a typewriting poet who types at events, does like the same thing that I do, except he is dressed up in a fox suit, and it works, and it's wonderful, and it's exciting. The Poetry Fox. Today we're going to be reading a poem of his about bedtime and the moon and night. So let me get my screen switched over because this is never. There's always one little thing that I forget when starting up the entire stream. Like, and this time it was the view of myself on the app. Cool, there we go. Alrighty, so I am going to bring up his poem. And then I'm going to Control 4, which should bring up that poem. Let's see. All right, there we go. Look at that. So as I said before, the Poetry Fox, you can see here in the corner here, the beautiful smiling shining face of the fox. I haven't yet made a what does the fox say joke on this stream yet, and I don't anticipate on doing so. So this was written about this time last year. The Poetry Fox's style is often when he's not doing something called Fox Friday, which is kind of like taking randomly commented words and putting them all together into a poem. His poems are short and very ethereal, kind of wonderfully dancing around the themes that are present in there. I don't know if that's a very good summation, but I love what he does with his poetry. This style allows him to be very swift with his poems. He has talked often a lot about having done several dozen poems in a given night. Sometimes he can reach over 100 poems. So this one here, I'm going to entitle "Go to Bed" because it doesn't have an official title on the top of it. A beautiful poem. So presenting on the Poetry Studio, "Go to Bed" by the Poetry Fox. Go to bed. I want to talk with the moon. I can see how it's looking at me, that it has something to say. I think I know the moon's language. It's quiet and scratchy, like a voice of someone who hasn't spoken in years. But I will listen here in the dark with upturned ears. One more time. Go to bed. I want to talk with the moon. I can see how it's looking at me, that it has something to say. I think I know the moon's language. It's quiet and scratchy, like a voice of someone who hasn't spoken in years. But I will listen, here in the dark, with upturned ears. I think I know the moon's language. There's a lot of one-liners in here. Like, and his vocabulary is also absolutely astounding when you read a lot of his other poems. But the one that I love about this one is that it's very straightforward, but there's a lot of one-liners where, as with any poetry, the putting together of two concepts just makes things amazing. That you takes things that usually don't go together. Go to bed. I want to talk with the moon. Um, I think I know the moon's language. Like the lack of confidence in being able to parse into this. And I think that there's the poem, the deeper theme of this poem, while it is talking about the moon and talking with the moon, that's obviously the surface level interpretation. But I think a deeper theme of this poem is that we are searching to try to get in touch with that deeper language of the world and of the cosmos. Moon is very cosmic. You know, it was the one orb in the sky that everybody could look at and go, wow, look at that thing. As opposed to the stars, which were a little more distant. I think I know the moon's language, like the voice of someone who hasn't spoken in years. This might be a great poem for somebody that is looking to get back in touch with maybe the artistic or creative line within their own soul. Because oftentimes it's good to listen to the moon. I have a lot of Awakening from the Meaning Crisis by John Vervaeke running through me. It's a podcast, so myth making is kind of a thing that I look at, bring to this. And then in the end, but I will listen here in the dark with upturned ears. The word dark in a poem is always very it grabs attention because dark is scary. Dark is dark. But I will listen here in the dark with upturned ears. So there's a bit of drama in that too. And that's what I love about these. Oh, goodness gracious. I didn't even get a chance to actually like it. There we go. That's what I love about these works, these shorter works, is that if you figure out how to put it in a pithy way and get straight to the point. Like I think I use a lot of articles. I use a and the all the time. My poems are very prose-ish, not completely. This here, this is a real poem right here. I love it. All right, so let us get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Thank you so much, Poetry Fox. If you happen to be tuning in to our stream, thank you so much for your amazing writing, and really appreciate it. If you do not know the Poetry Fox, if you just go to his Instagram page, which is The Poetry Fox, I'd recommend that you follow him so that you can see both wonderful creative poetry and the shenanigans of a man dressing up in a fox suit with a typewriter, both of which are absolutely essential. So what do I have planned for this morning? I think that to start, I want to also bring in like our idea of the day, our theme of the day. And the theme of the day is coffee. It is coffee because this is the first time I've ever actually had coffee while streaming. I've never done that before. I usually have some sort. Usually I have my water, and I like my coffee, but I don't often partake. Please, everybody, let me know if audio levels are off. I'm trying something new with the audio today, so if you can't hear me or if the music's too loud, please just let me know. Coffee. So it's funny because there is this tension in coffee from, you have it and it energizes you, but then you also have a crash. It's almost like you get some more energy, but then it's almost like you're more or less moving around your energy. Like, would you prefer to have energy all in one place, or something like that. Coffee, the dark side, says Patrick Smith. Yeah, it's also like you stare into it and you go, what is this dirt water thing that I'm having? Like, I, as a relatively sparse coffee drinker, the concept of coffee fascinates me, because it's dirt water. It's like you ground up coffee beans and it's dirt water. I can barely see my reflection. Yes. Is that an indication of the purity of the coffee, Patrick Smith, or is it a? Yeah, it's interesting to see your reflection in the abyss. See, we have literally been talking for I think about a minute about coffee. What do we have? We have darkness. We have a reflection in the abyss. That's my shadow. I'll tell you, what's funny, it's really funny you mention that, because just with a lot of what's going on in my personal life, which of course I don't want to go deep into, I've been dealing a lot with my shadow. Like, the real shadow, like, you know, the dark side of who I am. And so it's funny because, like, in the morning I was thinking about it and I was like, my theme in the morning should be shadow. And I was like, no, let's not do shadow. That's a crazy theme. Don't want to say shadow is your theme, but coffee, that's a theme. So Patrick Smith, you've unintentionally stumbled upon the deeper theme possibly in here. Twitcher Alex asks, I've got a question unrelated to poetry, but rather your stream. Is there a specific reasoning you went with Streamlabs over OBS Studio to broadcast? Yes, it was because Streamlabs can plug into, like, when we go on Steve Disco Newsom's channel and there's all that stuff happening on the screen, that is why Streamlabs is way better for more functionality. OBS is simpler and gets it done quicker. So I started with OBS when I started streaming, and then I made the switch to Streamlabs OBS because I wanted more functionality. I wanted to be able to have more toys to play with, because eventually this channel is going to be, you know, they're going to have fun in the chat. We're going to have a way for you guys to ping whenever I overuse words. Like, it's going to be a good time here. I just haven't set all that up yet. Patrick Smith says, absolutely, Watts is always talking about our shadow. And I agree, and that's one of the things that I've come and to learn and appreciate, is to be able to dialogue with my shadow. I should probably be changing my ribbon while I'm talking about this. So that's definitely something that I do appreciate about his work, and I might even poet on it a little bit. Let's see here. So, by the way, introducing a new old typewriter. This is a 1949 Royal QDL. This typewriter is very special to me because this typewriter, believe it or not, does two things very well. It types very well, obviously, but it also is really good at making haikus. And I'm going to be doing a lot of haikus over the next few weeks. What do you mean by it makes really good haikus? So obviously it doesn't, I create the haikus, but it has the margins set up in a way that makes it very easy for me to make haikus. And right now you're seeing a ribbon being put to a typewriter. So there you go. Oh, there we go. That's what I want. So that's what I mean by that. But also, I have a project today where I might be using this typewriter more. So, yeah, so the shadow. Alan Watts always talking about our shadow. And so, coffee, I find, is one of those things that is actually a very good metaphor for a lot of things that most people don't actually think about it as. Like, if my poet friend suggested that water is a very common metaphor in poetry now, which makes sense. Coffee is kind of interesting because it's water with the dark twist. I think maybe that's why it's got a lot of potential. It's potent. Humble God 999 says, why do you look like you're from 1874? Because I am a typewriter poet and I have to look the part. I probably look like I'm more from 1835 or something like that. I think 1874 is a little bit of a stretch. I don't have sideburns. I could get to sideburns if it'll help with the image. If you want to request a poem, Humble God, we have we do poetry here. We previously had a ketchup god on the stream, and we did a poem about very saucy deities, but now we have a humble god on the stream. So I've actually done. I don't know if it's something where I should riff off of people's usernames when they come into the stream. But yeah, that's what I do. I'm a typewriter poet. I do writing on the stream. You give me a topic on anything, and I can write a poem about it. Look at these lights turned down a little bit. And then I'm going to put some paper in the typewriter, and we'll figure out some new poem to write. Yes, actually time traveling, powerful. Well, it's funny because when you type on a typewriter, you don't feel like you're in the modern age. It pulls you out of that feeling. And so instead you're just in this space with the machine. So ribbon is in, and that is why that's where we're at now. Paper, Joe. We gotta write. There's no writing happening. So does anybody have I like the idea of writing off of the morning theme and having that being like the starter poem for the day. And so we've had a short conversation. Oh, we have a specific request though. Write about the Milky Way. Absolutely. I will absolutely write about the Milky Way. I already have an image and a memory, actually more so, that I think of when I think of the Milky Way, which is the first time I really saw the stars. Milky Way is like cream and coffee, says Patrick Smith. Possibly being able to bridge the two together. Because even when you put cream in coffee, it's still got that dirt water look. That image may find its way in the poem. So let's get to writing. I like that. Humble God says, I know absolutely nothing about poetry, if being honest. So that's okay. And thank you for tuning in. And yeah, so my poetry is very free verse. So it's one of those things that if you anybody ever, I could also write a sonnet about it. Kind of talk about iambic pentameter. But the great thing about free verse is that it gives you a lot of room to play around with words and to be, to shorten and then lengthen how you write the words. Um, and I do a lot of slant rhyme, which means that the rhymes kind of filter in those uneven patterns, but they kind of create a pattern nevertheless. But I'm so glad to see that you're here and interested. Thank you so much for tuning in. And it also is like on the spot poetry. So a lot of times there will be mistakes, what I consider mistakes, within the poems that in further edits I would change. I repeated the word light here, and I would not have done that usually. But that's part of the fun of coming up with the poetry on the spot, which is not always what every poet's style is. Poetry is a very open and free genre, I like to term it. Even when the person says you're a poet and I know it, they are poeting on the spot, though it can go so much deeper than that. I kind of do poetry full time. Oh God, yeah. Um, it's it's kind of currently half and half. I still work. I work a lot of part time jobs, but I'm pulling out of those. Um, and I do this as a busking art in the Winchester, Virginia Walking Mall. Hence why I'm the Walking Mall poet. I don't walk around malls with a typewriter, but I and so and then I also do events. So I've been doing weddings, and it's exciting. Kind of starting to do that. And now I'm trying to do more with the Twitch as well. So, uh, oh God says sometimes I question my own intelligence. Not going to lie. Well, I think that we are all these limited beings. But what the great thing is we all know one thing, and it's about being human. And I know that seems to be really trite, might come off as trite, But one thing that I rely on most in poetry and writing for other people is an assumption that we are more alike than we are different. So, for example, this poem is about existential crisis. It's about the Milky Way, but it's about existential crisis. So, as a result, I'm thinking about things that I would feel in existential crisis and assuming that other people probably feel them as well, and that might make the connection happen in the poem. And great thing about typewriters is the bichrome color. I want to thank Humble God for his prompt. I actually really enjoyed writing this one. And coffee did get a drop in, Patrick Smith, which is exciting. Now, title. I need to title this poem. I've been really into these one-word titles. I think that my my mentor, my poet mentor, does not like them, but I do. And this is your poem. So this is the first half. I'll read it through. Humble God asks, not to sound stupid, but did you go to school or are you self-taught? No, that's not a stupid question at all. I would say I'm mostly self-taught in poetry. I discovered William Wordsworth in high school. William Wordsworth is a mid 19th century British poet who first wrote about this idea of something called transcendentalism, which is the idea that you can be looking at something and be transported to a different place, and to be transcending out of oneself into the universe, into nature, into spirituality. For a better word, turned me on to poetry. I had been writing a lot of stuff before then about angsty crushes, but then I went to college for philosophy, and so philosophy is very infused in my poems because I studied that. But I had a tough time in college, and I wrote poetry to deal with that. So I just wrote, and writing a lot helped me form mechanics and rhyme schemes and vocabulary. And then so that's how I kind of came out to all of that. So, and that's how I got here. Patrick Smith, you're absolutely correct. We all have that ability for art. We all do. And harnessing that energy is something that you don't have to do it well to start. Have fun with it. I think that there is so much pressure because we see a lot of creators, and I hope I don't contribute to that. Honestly, don't like I don't I and this might sound really self-depreciating, but I don't think I'm that great. Like, and I think at the point is I just have fun with it and I put it out there. You don't even have to put it out there though. There's so much value in just sitting down with a notebook and writing for yourself, or just creating some verse on the fly. And if you ever do write anything, feel free to share it. I love sharing other people's work on the stream. This is a poem entitled Way, requested by Humble God, about the Milky Way, with some coffee references filtered in from Patrick Smith. Gazing upwards in the countryside to the domed sky, moody moon hidden from view, my father points to the rich dark of the cosmos. See the line, the faint glow past the abyss. A sea of lights, a crowd of cumulus solar systems clashing and crying out for attention. The light years burning away coffee-hued fears with the softness of supernova. There is a party out there, silent noise like you wouldn't believe, creation and destruction spinning away and afar, a war of fusion and derision, infinite collision all above my backyard. I reach with rocket ship fingers, wishing I could touch the Milky Way. Thank you so much for the prompt, Humble God. That was actually a really fun poem to write. I really appreciate it. And then to show everybody here, I had the first half of the poem on the stream. This is what the bottom poem looks like, and you can see there I have a blue bichrome in here, and that's what the word touches. Yeah. So absolutely. Let me. I'll tell you something. When kids write poems, like if you were writing poems in the 6th grade, when kids write poems, when it comes to is this skillful or not, goes out the window, because kids are so in touch with their feelings that sometimes they just pour beauty on the page without even trying. So I definitely would be interested in 6th grade poems. There was we were doing these readings in town, and we had a couple of high school girls that came to one of the readings, and they blew everybody away. Like me, everybody else, none of our work compared to the stuff they were throwing out there, and we were just like jaw dropped, like what? This is insane. And like we had like the guy that runs our literary center, like a well-published author. Like we have a literary center that's trying to develop in town, and he was just like, "You guys have blown the whole competition away," because kids are so in touch with their feelings. So that's my email. I just dropped it into the chat. Humble God, if you want to send me an email, I will with your info. We can chat back and forth, and then we can set up a stream when I feature your work if it's something that works. And otherwise, I love giving advice, guidance, thoughts, reflections. Yeah, I just dropped it in there. I think we just crossed back and forth. No. I think I sent it at the same time that you did. I've talked to other poets, and I always say to them that when I give guidance on poetry, if it's guidance even, I always say it's not guidance. This is me, my perspective as a human, but you're coming from a different place. The genuineness of poetry is what often gives it so much value. Anyway, so yeah, email me and we'll set something up. So what I have plans. So I have a project that I'm doing. A friend of mine has given me her name's Jane. Has given me some scans of some poems of hers that she typed when she was a kid on all this random paper, and what she wants is she wants them retyped. And what I got to start doing today, and that's part of the reason I brought up the Royal. Here's where it gets interesting. She remembers typing them on a Royal when she was in like the 60s or 70s, when she first wrote these poems as a kid. Believe it or not, again, she was in high school and going into college when she wrote poetry, and she's going to get an entire collection published of her high school and college poems. So there is a real value in young poetry. That's the way I would term it. But I've got to be the start for this because I've got to retype her poetry to be able to make it into a thing. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what the size of her paper is today. I might work on this for a couple of minutes and then we'll call it on the stream. But I also am going to practice retyping some of her poems in her style, learning how to, kind of developing formatting and stuff like that. I don't know. This is a weird paper size. I'm going to say that because it doesn't fit this way. That's the other thing about typewriter poetry that's really cool, is that there's a level of art to it, like paper art. Like you got to cut paper in a certain pattern and stuff like that I really find enjoyable because it adds an element to it that you would not usually get. Well, thank you very much for the comments on the poem. Humble God, really appreciate your support. Yes, that's the right size. So what size is this? Oh, ruler. Let me bring back the music as I kind of work on this. Patrick Smith says, coffee-hued fears, gold. Thank you. Oh, I love this song. What do we have here? We have a 6 by 9. What an odd... That's not even 9. It's like 9 1/4. What an odd paper size. K Cookie 1239 says, want to become famous? Buy followers. Bigfollows.com. I could one day. It was actually one of the Fox. So the poet that we read at the beginning of the stream, he does these he does the poetry compilations from comments, and he got a spam comment on one of his poems. I didn't read it because I liked the other one that I read better. And he incorporated the spam comment into the poem. It was hilarious. I was reading it. I was like, what? What are even the letters that they're that let me see if I can. There's oh, I don't have the ability to mod myself. I thought I have the ability to mod myself. Here we go. Chat settings. Show moderator actions, right? I want to show moderator actions. Okay. It's not letting me take care of that. Anyway, that's fine. We could just leave him there. Bigfollows.com. So I'm going to switch back over to the typewriter because let's pick a random poem out from her collection and let's yeah, that's what I'm seeing there. So all these poems that this wonderful woman wrote are all about Ireland and about nature. Ireland and nature are the poems. It's very obviously a very different style than mine. I love the formatting that she's used here. So what I need to decide is I need to decide some standards for this project. I need to decide, and actually I'm going to shift this around here to show you what I'm kind of doing here. So you can see here, this is her scanned copy of the poem, and if I bring it up to the camera, you can see this is what she typed in 1970, around 1970. And this is the new paper today. And so I have to make the transfer from here to here, all hand typed. And so I have to decide some things. She gave me a book as a model to use. I have to decide how, where I place my titles, where I don't, because I have to do it at the same spot for every one. I'm gonna get a pencil, and I'm gonna start playing around with some margins. There are some concepts in printing, such as something called bleed, which is the idea that you don't type all the way to the edge of the page because you assume that some of that could go off. And so using the book, so this book has something things up here, but I'm thinking that we place our titles here. What is that measurement if I place that there? 3/4. And then I gotta find the center on here. So this one is called Salt Hill Galway. It's a poem that I'm retyping now. And I figured that I'm gonna kind of that works if you want to share it from Google Docs. I think there's a way to share it from Google Docs that you view only. Well, I love this typewriter. This typewriter is perfect margins for everything. Top, bottom, left, and right. It's oh my God, I'm trying to think how the best way to share that, to share your stuff. Yeah, so you can either, in Google Docs, there's a function where you can share and share to view. That way, I wouldn't be able to go in and edit your stuff because we don't want that, and you want to make sure your stuff is protected. Or you could just copy the text out of the Google Doc and then just put it in the body of the email. I guess it's the other way to do so. Yeah, and email me, and I might be able to help you more with that after the stream as well. Like if you're like, hey, I'm looking at this and I'm not sure what I'm looking at. So another fascinating function of typewriters, and I mentioned this before on the stream, is that they're monospaced, meaning that every letter is spaced the same distance away. By using the amount of characters per inch, which this one I think is a 10 CPI, we can also then assume where the center is. So I have here that this is a 6-inch wide paper, so I'm sitting at a space before 3 inches, which is really the center. So emailing me, so I think that if you were to just put in that email address, yourfriend@walkingwallpoet.com, that would probably be that's okay. So if you select, like if you click and you hold down, I was a computer tutor in a past life. If you select, click and hold and select the entirety of a text with your cursor and then right click on it, there should be a button that says copy, and then you might be able to paste it into the body of your email. Again, if you just have a regular Gmail, you just click the plus sign in the top left corner, open up an email, and then paste. Believe it or not, fun fact, copy and paste are called copy and paste. Well, copy is copy, it's pretty straightforward. But paste, because when people were editing their typewritten works, they would literally take sentences they might have cut out of a previous edit, and they paste them onto the paper. That's why it's copy and paste. Fun fact. There is so much that comes from our typewriter lore. And I'll if you want to put your email in a whisper to me, then I can reach out to you first, and then we could do that as well. I wouldn't want you to post your email into the chat here. But even if we don't get to connect via email, it was just great to write for you on the stream. Go back to this. So Salt Hill Galway, the title, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's 16 characters. So if I backspace, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we might have lost it. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I type it. I couldn't have been more perfect. Now, for an example for her, I'm going to underline. Now, and she... Let's see here. Nope, that's not what I want. That's what I want. There we go. Because she double spaced it all. Her centering is incredible. This is a lost art form. 1, 2, 3. I will check my email. Checking my email now. I like it. I like it. Would you like me to read it now on the stream, or would you like to read it at another time, or what would you like to do? It's your poem, so you let me know how you would want to have it. And the thing is, so what's funny is, so I write a lot of positive poetry. It's just what I do. It's where I sit. But poetry that's angsty or might be struggling or dealing with things, called process poetry often, it also has its own value to it. We can talk about that value and where this goes and where you could take this poem and what the best aspects of it are. Because I am running out of time here today, I might end up saving this poem for like a stream tomorrow or something like that. I have your email, so I will email you back. I think that's probably going to be the best thing. I want to finish this here. Steve Disco do some. Welcome. I didn't know that. Man, I didn't know that you were like shouting out for that notification. We are writing a poem about Galway, which I think is in Ireland. There's a bunch of Irish poetry that I have been commissioned to retype by it's not my original poetry. piece of poetry from a friend of mine. Oh. Gotta put the semicolon. Oh no! I see. That's what I gotta be careful of here. Because it's a retype, it has to be perfect. There's gonna be a lot of having to make sure that that type of thing doesn't happen again. It's so good to see you again, Disco. I sent Claire's 15 her poem about Salford. I don't know if she shared it to the group or anything like that, but it was a good poem to write for her. I really was excited to write it. Come again. Oh, that's so cool. And then she had a couple of other things in there too. So do you have a schedule for streaming? Because I don't want to miss the stream tomorrow. Yes, so it's every morning, 7 a.m. EST, Monday to Saturday. Oh, that's actually correction, Humble God. I am not streaming tomorrow. Attention, everybody. I am not streaming tomorrow. I am on vacation tomorrow. My wife and I are taking a trip to Philadelphia. It's going to be good. But Thursday, Humble God. Okay, we'll read your poetry. We'll talk about it. See, Disco, I'm getting a bulk of mugs on the 15th. Oh, well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, I actually had coffee this morning on the stream, and so your mug would get a prime time spot here when it comes in. I really do appreciate that. So the reason why I am doing these retypes of these Irish poems is because they're going to be going into this book. Or not into it. They're going to go into a book of this size, and so I'm taking a look to see what it looks like when they are retyped. And then there could be things such as if I want to place this in the center of the page, if I want to center justify it. You know, I'm basically formatting the poems and formatting the titles to experiment with how she wants this all laid out, and then to give her some options. And then I will go through this entire folder of poems, and I will be retyping them for the book. This is interesting. I'm going to read this poem, and then I think, let's see here. Do we have... Is a certain Wave Lord currently streaming? Are you streaming, Disco? It's Tuesday, so I don't think you're streaming today. Oh, good. I don't have emails back. Actually, that's what I thought. I'm checking to see if we... No, we do not have... a Wavelord streaming right now. So we will see. But let me read this poem to start. This is Salt Hill, Galway. By the sea they stroll, young couples with voices almost music, almost the sound of the water brushing the night air, as a hand softly brushing hair. Oh, that music that waves the night. Come again, sweet loves, come again, in the rushing of sea waters to the shores of an Irish heart. Brushing the night air as a hand softly brushing hair. I like that back and forth with the image. Beautiful little image for the seashore in Ireland. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, I think that at this point I am going to probably end the stream. So what I like to do is there are times that I like to raid DJs, and I like to raid writers, and I think I did a writer last time, so I think we're gonna raid a DJ. Akira the Don is not on. By the way, Akira the Don is the DJ and musical artist who's the music I use. It's his music, so all credits to that. And Disco is not streaming today, but DJ Noah Wan is streaming today. So everybody that's here, I want to thank you all so much for being part of the stream. Kaigoon is on. I will check that. I actually don't think I have Kaigoon followed. So if it's a recommendation from Steve Disco Newsome, it's a good. Are you suggesting for Kaigoon, or are you suggesting for Noah Wan? I think Noah Wan is a good option. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just kind of bopping around here trying to figure out where to stream to raid to. But I'll give my closing remarks. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Humble God 999, for the inspiration for the poem about the Milky Way, which has there it is. It was on my desk. The Milky Way poem, really wonderful. If any of you ever want any of the poems, any hard copies of anything that I write on the stream, all you have to do is email me at the email, which I'm going to drop into the chat, which is yourfriend@walkingmallpoet.com. I'm more than glad to send anywhere into the world. We have poems currently sitting in the UK, in Greece. We have poems everywhere. Spain as well. So this is an international poetry studio. And as always, if you have an idea for a poem, want to request something, feel free to drop it in the chat. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. We're now going to go and we're going to raid a DJ Noah Wan, who is a really cool DJ. And I'm going to DJ Noah Wan. And I will not be here tomorrow. Big announcement: no poetry studio tomorrow. Wednesday, 7 a.m. EST, because I will be on vacation. But Thursday, 7 a.m. EST, we'll be back. Also, I might be doing a repair stream today. No promises, because I haven't figured out how to repair the machine that I have. So it's a little problematic. So I want to thank you all again for being here, and thank you all again. Ooh, actually, Akira just popped on. Yep, there we go. Twitch Hero Alex is out of here. We're gonna follow over to Akira the Dawn, who is the DJ that has the music that we have here. That was a last-minute decision because he's finally in. Alrighty. Thank you all so much for being here, and catch you all in the future. And thank you for the poetic morning. And we're ending the stream here.